prescription, it would come with a warning label. Okay, get this. It may cause increased happiness, better relationships, and spontaneous smiles.
I love
Okay,
it. That is awesome.
so welcome to Centered Live. Today we're diving into a universal topic that changes moods, relationships, and even your brain, and it is called gratitude.
Indeed, even the power of gratitude.
Yep. Simple word, huge power. So jump in, Paul.
Okay. Well, hey, you know me as the history teacher, I got to talk about the history of Thanksgiving at this particular time of the year, which is one of my favorite holidays of the year. So before we jump into gratitude's power, let's take a look at the origin of America's designated day of thanks. So there
Right.
are some common myths, and it's funny because as in elementary school, I remember being taught about the Pilgrims and Thanksgiving. And
The
of course,
first
we saw
Thanksgiving,
lots
yeah.
of artistic representations, with the men in their black hats and the silver buckles on their hats and the silver buckles on their shoes,
Right.
and the turkey, right? The turkey with all of the trimmings. And the reality is that even though the feast was something that started in 1621 with those early pilgrims, it really did. That part of it is okay. We can agree on that. But first of all, initially it wasn't called Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And there wasn't any turkey or pumpkin pie, which I
What?
just learned today. I know, which I just learned today. Half of our country doesn't even like pumpkin pie. They would rather have squash pie or no, sweet potato pie. That was it.
Sweet
That was it.
potato pie, yeah.
Yeah, half the country
Mhm.
apparently. But point being is that those early pilgrims definitely would have eaten what they had available to them, which was more likely to have been venison or eel and wild fowl. And
Eel?
and so I've read the possibility that they might have feasted on lobster as a as an option.
Okay, I'll buy that. I would like that. Honey, let's do lobster
Yeah,
alongside of our
right, right.
turkey.
Yeah. It's just so interesting that, that we were raised with certain pictures of Thanksgiving in our mind, and the reality is something actually very different. But what has happened is that over the decades and even centuries of American history, the reality of Thanksgiving as a holiday started in, interestingly enough, with Abraham Lincoln, who actually was responding to a recommendation from a woman named Sarah Josepha Hale, who said that maybe having a day of gratitude, as the Civil War had exploded into the reality of 1861 America, that it would be a way to foster unity and kindness along with the Thanksgiving. And so Lincoln actually did then say that he picked the date, that it would be Thursday in November, that we would then take this day as a day to remember and to be grateful for the blessings that we all have received. Interestingly enough, the southern states did not like that. They thought that it was just a way to provide indoctrination of northern attitudes. So
Mm.
that didn't catch on in the southern states for a while. And in fact, it wasn't until 1941, under the direction of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, that the official day of Thanksgiving became a national holiday. So it's funny that, sometimes we have these ideas that we've been celebrating Thanksgiving for hundreds of years, and maybe to a point, off and on, we could say that there is some truth to that. But the day that we know as a national holiday, and it allows me to be off of work. I'm not teaching this week. I mean, I taught yesterday and today, but not the rest of the week. I get off, and of course, banks are closed, and lots of businesses close for the Thanksgiving holiday, and that's something that's actually fairly new for us as America.
Yeah,
So
so it's interesting how as a holiday, as an event, it's
right,
evolved over the years.
yes,
It's actually a pretty recent evolution in the
right.
last 100 years or less that it's become. But I like it. I like
Oh
Thanksgiving.
yes.
It's one of my
Well,
favorites.
beyond food, which is delicious, but
Right, but I love just getting together with the
yeah,
family and just having this event. And I think that we meet as a society, we need more family oriented events. Now it could be friendsgiving, like I've heard, where you get
right,
together with friends, as somebody that doesn't have family around. But
marvelous.
that's the idea of getting together, and I love how it's evolved.
Right. And truly, regardless of the history, the act of thankfulness remains universal and powerful.
Yeah, and so gratitude isn't just a feeling. Okay,
Right.
it's a conscious practice. It's a mindset.
Love that.
And I love this quote: gratitude turns what we have into enough, and more chaos into order, confusion into clarity.
Right.
That's a great quote. And I once met an author. Oh, I can see his face. He wrote a book called about positivity, and he gave a lecture that I attended, and it was just a marvelous event, and how that gratitude, that positivity, changes so much of what we define as happiness and satisfaction
Right.
in life.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I recently came across studies that were conducted at both Harvard University and UCLA on the effects, the physical effects of gratitude, of being
Mm,
thankful.
yeah, right. Yeah, in fact, science backs that. There's
Right.
uh, gratitude literally changes your neurochemistry. It
Right.
boosts your dopamine and serotonin, and it's a natural antidepressant.
Right.
Lowers blood pressure, improves your sleep, it
Isn't
strengthens
that
your immunity
amazing?
system.
And
What's
and
that?
that is that's so amazing because it's been repeated in study after study after study.
So next time I have a really bad headache, I need to be grateful for something, and it'll go away, right?
You know what? I would suggest that you should try that, and you might actually be really wonderfully surprised. I recently watched one of yours and my our favorite speakers of Centered.Live, Simon Sinek,
Yeah.
and as he talks about the release of oxytocin when you are expressing gratitude, um, and that, of course, is also a feel good chemical that's in our bodies and reduces stress and has so many positive effects for us. It's the feel good drug, if you will, in our bodies, and it's just so amazing. And the reality, of course, is that when we think about the being thankful, it's easy when you are around people who are um, being kind. It's a little bit more challenging when you're dealing with hardship. And what's interesting is that I was reading not long ago in USA Today that there is a homeowners association that now requires residents of their HOA to sign a pledge of kindness. Well, that could be really awesome. Could be fantastic. Could be a fabulous place, like almost like Disneyland,
Well,
place to live. But But the reality is that when we hit challenging times, like you referenced a headache,
Hmm.
there are times though when we feel like we're being beat up, at least spiritually and mentally, psychologically, right? We're being
Right.
beat up, and so many things are happening outside of our control, and we're concerned, we're worried, we're stressed, and what we miss is that we can actually reduce a great amount of that by then figuring out, how do we want to be thankful? How can we show gratitude and allow that chemical change to happen within us? And I'll give you just a quick example. I love, whenever I'm in a store, to smile at people and to talk to the people, especially the checkers and the baggers at the grocery store. I will call them by name because they almost always wear name tags,
Right.
and I'll call them by name, and I'll talk with them and listen to them and joke with them, and try to um, create a situation where there's a smile on their face. And the thing is that in that kindness, um, then what happens is that they start to smile, and that smile is their gratitude coming back to me, and it makes me feel better. And it's like, I can
Perfect.
be
Perfect. Yeah.
stressed and bordering on grumpy, but if I take those deliberate steps, all of a sudden that weight begins to shift and lift.
Right. Yep. And here's another thing that happens when you replace your negative thoughts with gratitude is that they go away. Those negative thoughts disappear.
It just
Psychologists, yeah, psychologists for years have talked about the thought processes of how things pass through your mind, and
mm,
it's impossible to have negative and a positive thought exist at the same time. They can only exist one at a time. And you have, even some people say they can multitask. Well, it's just really fast
that's
task
monotasking.
switching.
Yes, it's true.
It's like
Yeah,
the old Intel processors. They weren't real multitasker. They just switched tasks so quickly you didn't
right,
notice. Right?
right, right. Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that when we talk about that gratitude, and you were mentioning how you can't be negative and positive at the same time, right?
Hmm.
Similarly to that, you can't have fear and faith in the mind or the heart at the same time.
Oh yeah.
And it's interesting because the reality is that when we talk about all of the good things that come from being grateful, from being thankful, it definitely also leads to spiritual benefits.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I think that there's scriptures in the New Testament and Old Testament that talk about how we should give thanks in everything that we do.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, let's see. Psalm 100, verse 4: enter his gates with thanksgiving and his
Hmm.
courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. Right? Or First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18: give thanks in all circumstances. This is the hard part, right? In all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And and again, when we're enduring difficult circumstances, whether it's health issues or financial issues, it's hard to find something to be grateful for or about. And
Yeah.
yet, if we will deliberately make that effort, it is amazing at how quickly, not the solution, although sometimes I really do think that solutions get presented quicker when we are being more positive,
Hmm.
that positive mindset, than when we're dwelling in negativity. But there is a blessing that comes from a loving Heavenly Father when we are grateful to Him and to each other. And certainly when we show that love to each other, then we're also exhibiting love for Him.
Right. And I think these fit into a psychological term called reframing. It's
Oh,
not
yeah,
it's not ignoring the challenges, it's choosing the lens that we select to put on them. Like, I think that most and a lot of religious communities teach that the challenges that we face in life are strengthening us. It's part of God's plan to have us grow and learn, and we're sent to this great university called Earth or mortality, right?
yeah, right,
and and we all have a different graduation, right? Graduating is when we die, but um, we all have something to learn, and that university has been custom to us, and we're not ignoring challenges by being positive.
yeah, right,
We're reframing it, saying, I am learning from this challenge. I have an opportunity to grow and become stronger because of this work challenge or challenge with family or
right.
relationships or a coworker or physical health or mental health. All those challenges help us to grow to become a better, stronger individual that will have a greater eternal existence with God.
Yeah, absolutely. But the part of that challenge of certainly is to find the heart and the positivity to and I know that we're talking about a mental choice, right? But at the same time, it sometimes it feels like there's a physical component to actually change our frame of mind, right? Um, and it takes effort. It takes a tremendous amount of effort. It takes willpower. It takes courage. And there are times, and Randy, you and I, we've shared some of our hard times. And certainly there have been times when I say, hey, God, you want to go pick on somebody else for a change? Because I'm feeling pretty beat up right now.
Right.
Um, right? We've all felt that. We've all felt that. And and it's like, you know, we know that life isn't fair. Mortality isn't going to be the place where we find all the fair solutions to everything that happens to us. But in the long run, as in an eternal perspective, then we know that all things will be made right to our blessing. But that can be very difficult. The challenge is to switch our minds from being ungrateful to being grateful. And in point of fact, um, there's a great quote from Henry Ward Beecher that says, "The unthankful heart discovers no mercies, but the thankful heart finds everywhere mercy."
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's sort of that again that thing. And I'm blanking out real quick on the scientific term. Heightened awareness, I guess. That once you start to see places where you can be thankful, all of a sudden it's like you're surrounded by opportunities to be thankful and grateful.
And to help others be thankful and grateful. So when we stop seeing blessings, life really feels heavier.
Oh, definitely.
And you mentioned a physical aspect to that. I think that's applies to just about everything that we do. There's a physical element to our bodies that's connected so tightly to our brain, to
Hmm.
our spiritual self.
Right.
Our our physical body needs that positive interaction in order to flourish.
So true. Well said.
And if you, I don't know, I've seen people that have negative lives, and you can see that in their face and their eyes and their demeanor. It's just hard. And sometimes I feel like I need to figure out how to lift them up and have them see that there's so many beautiful things in life that, even if they're on their deathbed dying, there's still good things to look forward to. Not that I have been there, but
Yeah, let's hold off on that for a little bit longer. But I will tell you that, and I think I've shared this before in our podcast, that I went to a funeral. In fact, I think I was conducting the funeral, and there was a man there who, I think he was the brother of the person who had passed away. And I watched him because he was a magnetic personality. He just always had a smile on his face. And he was probably in his 70s. He was tall and erect, and he just exuded this powerful charisma. And the kids wanted to be near him. The teenagers wanted to be close to him because he knew them. He called them. He talked to them. He joked with them. He laughed with them. He loved them.
wow.
And I saw that, and I thought, I want to be like that as I get older. Because for one thing, I think it takes practice. For another thing, I recognized within myself that maybe I've got some room for improvement. And again, that's that reframe your mind, reframe your heart, and make a choice to work on things to try to be more positive and to try to be more grateful.
That's excellent idea. In fact, that kind of leads into my next thought, and that is, of course, I have to tie in technology.
Of course you do, Randy.
But there's so many ways to use technology. A smartphone, even a notepad, really.
Right.
A gratitude journal. I've heard of people that are going through therapy through hard times, that to help them get through this hard time, they have a gratitude journal.
Mm-hmm.
They write down things that they're grateful for, or thoughts that they noticed about people, and how that lifts them and has a mindset change. Now, you can set reminders on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
I like to, I don't use to-do lists. I make myself appointments.
Okay.
So every time I need to accomplish something or I need to remember something, I make myself an appointment, and it pops up on my phone. Oh, remember to tell Paul he's handsome. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. But his wife is better looking than he is handsome.
Oh,
what? Okay.
Without question.
Yeah. But there's even apps where you can record journal thoughts. Now, here's an interesting thing that's only happened the last few years. I woke up at 4:30 one morning. This was a few weeks ago, and I was really feeling down. I had problems at work. I had health problems that were getting me down, and nobody was awake to complain to, right? And I thought, oh, I'll text somebody. And I thought, no, it'll bleep their phone. It'll wake them up. I don't, I'll make a comment on our family chat. No, I don't want to wake them up. So guess what I did? I started talking to AI.
Interesting.
And I said, I'm just having a bad time right now. I'm just having and it said, well, let's do some little exercises. And it walked me through some exercises on how to feel better. Now,
Really?
it wasn't personal.
Right.
It wasn't like a friend I was talking to. It was just a scientific answer to what I was doing. But at the time, that's what I needed. So you can use AI for some interesting feedback, and I hate to bring up AI too much because I know there's a lot of people that think it's wacky and are afraid of it,
Or
but
dangerous.
it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But to use it in a fashion that helps you learn is powerful.
Yeah, well, and as we've discussed on this channel before, is AI as a tool is fine.
Right. I mean, it's like a bathtub, right?
Okay. I would not have connected bathtub and AI together, but
Yeah,
go for it.
they're very similar in that you can use the bathtub for good, but what
Okay.
happens if you slip and fall in the
Mm.
bathtub? You're pretty vulnerable. So there's
Not to
good.
mention usually embarrassed.
Yeah, that's right. Luckily with AI is pretty private. It doesn't share a whole lot. But anyway, I guess my point is that there's good and bad to AI, and I've never seen anybody that's intentionally used AI for good and have gotten bad answers.
Mm.
If you want to use AI for good, it's going to reflect what you give to it. AI is a reflection of humanity. It isn't going to try to sway you one way or the other. It's going to match your tone and your knowledge. And so if you give it gratitude, it's going to give you back gratitude. If you give it garbage, it's going to give you back garbage.
Mm.
So anyway, okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Well, and it is fair point, but I am glad though that at the beginning of your sharing that you said that it can be as simple as a notebook.
Yep.
um, because it really can. In fact, if you don't mind, I would like to suggest a bit of a challenge, and that is that when you are ready to kind of wrap up your day, that you mentally list or even share them out loud, even if nobody else is around, just by saying the things that you are grateful for, the best moments of your day before you jump
Mm.
into bed, that it will have this amazing effect as you release the serotonin, as you release the oxytocin, right? The dopamine, the feel good chemicals that are in our body, because that's what will happen. And if we do that mindfully, if we do that on purpose, I think that we would be surprised at the impact that it has, again, on our sleep. But also, then as we wake up the following morning, we're going to be typically in a better mood. If you go to sleep in panic and fear, that's going to be the first things you're going to feel as you wake up in the next morning. So, another one would be to savor with intention. Um, the idea that you can enjoy a moment, be in the moment, but really enjoy a moment. And that could be as simple as sipping a cup of warm hot chocolate on a cold morning, or enjoying sunshine, or the fall colors, or the seasonal decorations, or enjoying just having a a fun, delightful conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe the last suggestion that I would have would be, and this will take a little bit more effort, but I think, again, well worth it. And that is to write a letter of appreciation to somebody who means something to you, who may have done something that helped you um, in whatever situation you might have been.
Mm.
And if you're really brave, take it to them and read it to them.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that there would be a
yeah.
profound impact because of those efforts.
Oh, interesting. I had a lot of thoughts go through my head when you're talking about practicing and savoring those experiences. I think that applies to evening prayer.
Mm,
Now, my wife and I love to take a moment and say a prayer together before we go to bed at night.
right? We do too.
And I think that is a great opportunity to express
Hmm.
gratitude to our Heavenly
Hmm.
Father. Now,
Absolutely.
and and I think this is with any faith. This doesn't have to be one faith that is, particularly prayerful or another. I think every faith that I'm aware of encourages open and individual prayer
Hmm.
that we can express that gratitude to our higher being. And that's a powerful thing to bring happiness to our life. And I think that it helps us strengthen our faith in our belief
Yes.
in
Yes.
a higher power.
And in that exact same line of thought and reasoning, I know that when I'm voicing a prayer with my wife, that I very frequently, if almost always, express my gratitude for my wife to my heavenly Father. So I'm saying thank you for this wonderful person that I have had the blessing of being married to and to live with and to raise our children and now our grandchildren. And that does a couple things. One is you're expressing gratitude, but she's right here, right? She's right next to me. She is
Yeah,
hearing that, and think of how that impacts her love and her appreciation, uh, for for me, right? So
yeah, and what about the opposite? What if your spouse isn't grateful or going through a hard time and doesn't see or feel that gratitude?
yeah, 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 and that's why I think that sometimes we have to take the responsibility to change our mind, change our heart, and find those opportunities. You know, in an argument, it can be very difficult to find anything to be grateful about. And so I think, again, that purposeful search of something to be grateful for then cracks open that valve, if you will, and maybe it starts out as just a drip, and then it becomes a spurt, and then becomes a stream, and then it becomes a flood as the effects of positivity help recreate the scenario that you're in.
Right, right. Yeah, so gratitude I think is contagious
Yeah.
when you share it, when Anne hears you pray for her about being grateful,
Hmm.
that's going to reflect on her. She's going to feel grateful for you.
Right. Right. And I love the way that you said that it's a reflection and it comes back.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe as a final takeaway, and I know that you've got a challenge that you're going to extend to our listeners and watchers, but just to be aware that gratitude is not ignoring pain. It is recognizing the beauty that exists alongside the pain.
Mhm.
It's a pathway to peace.
Right. And in fact, in Colossians, I think it's the Apostle Paul's writing to the Colossians.
Hmm.
He says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts and be thankful." Any time in life, we're going to have hardship. That's just part of life, part of learning. It's part of the script, the university
Right.
course outline, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And learning to learn alongside of those trials and make it through. But
And
yes,
purposefully find those things to be grateful for.
exactly. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, that shouldn't be too difficult right now, right?
Especially since we're rolling into Thanksgiving
Right.
and then Christmas, right?
I
So you're
know.
right. This is good timing. This is good
Yeah,
timing.
right. Is to write down 3 unique things that you're thankful for each day. So get out your piece of paper, your notebook, your AI dictation note
Notes on your
taker,
smartphone, whatever it is.
whatever it is, and then don't repeat anything. So it's got to be unique every day. And so that's what 21 items that you come up for with 7 days. That should be pretty easy to do. I know one year I tried to do, I'm thankful for whatever the first 25 days of November, and it kind of got hard coming up towards Thanksgiving to find everything. I said I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my wife's little pinky. I don't know. Her pinky promise that we.
Yeah, you're stretching things there, Randy.
But okay, it's a scientific experiment. Okay,
Right.
I'm a scientist in this little part of my brain back here.
Right.
Do this experiment and give it a chance to work.
And I think through that purposeful effort, we will all be pleasantly surprised at the effect that it creates.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us on Centered.Live. Be sure to check out our other episodes on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, and share and like and subscribe wherever you see we are. So keep us going. So thanks for joining us, and until next time, there's Paul and Randy saying farewell.